Hi everybody, hope you're doing well. Rabbi Mandelstam here, addressing you for Shabbat Shuva, Parshat Hazinu, Tafshin Pei Aleph, a very exciting time of year where we are charged with the task to really step up a notch, improve ourselves, and embrace a year of growth as we approach Yom Kippur. Generally, there's a phenomenon when a parent wants to get their child into the bathtub. The child will often not want to take a bath. And yet, once the child is in the bath, and it's time for the child to come out of the bath, very often the child will not want to come out of the bath. Right? Because after all, the bath is rather enjoyable. In a similar vein, we try to convince our children to eat foods, and they say, I don't like that food. And we say, well, have you ever tried it? Well, no, that's not the point. I know I don't like it. Well, why don't you try it first, right? These are familiar scenarios, and the idea is that a child might not like the bath, but when they try it, it's very enjoyable. A child might not like a new food, but when they try it, it's actually very enjoyable. And the reality is Judaism is actually rather similar, that there are many things that we dismiss as perhaps unattainable, unenjoyable, and beyond our norm. Yet we've never tried it, and if we only tried it, perhaps it would become more normal, a little bit more attainable, and part of our everyday lives. The Torah beautifully describes how Moshe urges the Jewish people before he dies. And he says, follow the Torah. Perek Lamed Beis, the Torah records, Vayichal Moshe ledeber es kol ma'ela al kol Yisrael. Vayomer alem simu levavchem l'chol dvarim she'anochi me'id bachem hayom. Moshe urges the people to take the Torah seriously. Command your children and keep the Masorah going. Kilo davar reik hu mikem. The Torah is not empty from you. What does Moshe mean when he says that the Torah is not empty from you? So seemingly on one level, that he's saying that the Torah is more interesting than what you may have thought. And in fact, the Torah Tamima quotes numerous Gemaras on this pasuk, and one of them is that there's so much depth in every word of the Torah that you think the Torah might be a little bit stale. No, there's depth in every letter of the Torah. But there's one penetrating insight of the Gemara Yushalmi Peah. Amar Rabbi Mana Kilo Davar Reiku. The Torah is not empty. The Torah is not boring. Ve'im Reiku, and if you find it to be reik, empty, mikem hu. That's coming from you, not coming from the Torah. According to this Gemara Yushalmi, when a person finds the Torah boring, when Judaism is a little bit stale, that's not reflecting a flaw in Judaism. That is reflecting a flaw in the Jew. My Rabbi Saul Kamenetsky says a story of the great Gaon of Aaron Lichtenstein Zecher Tzadik Livracha. There was a boy, I think on the NCSY Summer Kollel, who asked of Aaron, Rabbi, how should we approach the parts of the Torah that are boring? Many lines in Gemara that are not practical, and should we just skip those Gemaras? They're just too boring. And Rav Aaron Lichtenstein didn't understand the question. He said, you don't edit the Ribono Shel Olam, you edit yourself. Whoa. And I think as we approach Yom Kippur, we have to ask ourselves, are we being honest with our approach to the Torah and the mitzvos? Or are we like that little kid who's afraid to try broccoli or get in the bath? Maybe if we applied ourselves a little bit more to Talmud Torah and to the mitzvos, we would realize how not reik the Torah is, how juicy, how meaningful, how sweet life can be if we only held on to the Torah that much more tightly. We should all be zocheh to have a year that is filled with a close relationship with the Torah, and we should just continue to uncover the beauty of a lifestyle of living up Torah or mitzvos. Have a wonderful Shabbat Shuva, a Gemar Chasima Tova to all.